Welcome to the 25th week after Pentecost. It is Wednesday, November the 13th, 2024. This is the Manna at the Tap podcast, where we as a community actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. The daily lectionary reading we explore together is the manna designed to nurture our spiritual growth and provide the sustenance our souls need. I'm Gloria, your fellow traveler on this spiritual journey, and together we share insights and interpretations from these readings that enrich our spiritual lives. The lectionary text of Genesis 24, verses 28 to 42, continues how Abraham's senior servant discerned through prayer and observation that he could recognize the woman who would be a wife for his master's son, Isaac. So let's just take a quick review of the story so far. Abraham is old, his wife Sarah is dead, and their son Isaac, who is now about 40 years of age, does not have a wife. Abraham will ask his senior servant to embark on a quest to find a wife for Isaac. He is to seek a wife where Abraham's family resides. And Abraham assures his servant that God was with them. Abraham told his servant, "Do not find a wife among the Canaanites for my son, and do not take my son back to where my family lives." And so the servant begins the journey. He's accompanied by 10 camels, and they're laden down with a display of the wealth of his master Abraham. First thing he does is he prays. He asks the God of his master to lead him. This part of the story, and maybe the whole of the story, is about how God will lead the servant and will pay attention to the servant's attentiveness to notice whether and how God is answering his prayer. He arrived outside the town of his master's family after a journey that lasted about a month. The camels are tired and thirsty for water. It was the custom for young women to come to the well in the evening to get water. And the first young woman he saw was Rebecca, and he asked her for a drink. She graciously consented to quench his thirst and then offered to water his camels. She was young and beautiful, but she was also strong. You see, one camel can drink 20 to 30 gallons of water at a time, and they were 10 of them. The servant silently observed all of this. And when Rebecca was finished watering the camels, he gave her some jewelry and asked about her family. When he learned that her family was related to Abraham, he celebrated and praised God for God's faithfulness. He bowed down and he worshiped the Lord in front of Rebekah, saying, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness, his steadfast love, his hesed, and his faithfulness to my master." And then he talked about himself in his prayer. "And as for me, the Lord has led me to my master's family." The Lord's blessings are really abundant. The young woman has the proper genealogy. She's beautiful She's a virgin, and her family is wealthy, and they have camels as well. What more could the servant ask? And now, as we continue our reading of the lectionary, verses 28 to 42, the quiet family compound erupted in excitement as Rebecca ran home from the well and told her family what had happened. Her brother Laban, after seeing the jewelry that she had on, hurried out to meet Abraham's servant, and he invited him home with the other men who had accompanied him. The family offered him food, but he refused to eat until he told them in a long speech, book-ended by words of blessings, how the Lord had led him on the journey. Abraham's servant is a model of faithful action. When his master assigned him a difficult task, he bathed each step of the journey in prayer and praise. He watched and he waited to discern God's will. Then he quickly praised God for God's faithfulness and God's goodness, Hesed. Although God does not speak in the story or explicitly intervene in this domestic affair, in verse 40, the servant speaks of God's guidance, God who sent his angel with him to make his journey successful. God may not speak, but God is at work. And one must have spiritual eyes in order to discern the hand of God at work. The servant is fully aware that he has been led to the one the Lord has chosen to be the wife of his master's son, Isaac. The story speaks of God's profound faithfulness to Abraham and to Abraham's servant. God is also faithful to us. He providentially cares for all the events and circumstances of our lives. And we can join Abraham's servant, and we can join the writer of the Psalms, and we can give thanks to the Lord, for the Lord is good, and his steadfast love endures forever. Psalm 136, verse 1.